Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, December 7th. This is episode 87 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you as always for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Another week of NFL action, week 14. We have reached the second week here, or more so into December. December football continue to see these final kind of playoff races come down to the wire, divisional races, all that good stuff as the season continues to roll on. Only 4 more weeks after today. So season is flying by, playoffs getting closer. Lots to discuss in today's podcast. We'll break down some kind of off-season news potential with Kyler Murray, get into some of today's biggest games. It's a pretty good slate with a lot of divisional impacts on the line. So we'll break that all down. DiMari, another week ahead. How's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I said it last week. I'm gonna say it again this week. Great in this late of the year when you're still watching some meaningful football, like you kind of hinted at. A lot of good games today, especially for divisional purposes, playoff purposes. So exciting start at 1 o'clock. We got good football all day. But yeah, a lot of things to get into. First of that being Kyler Murray, who feels like the beginning of the end has been going on for him for quite some time now, but now it seems like things might be official. So let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. That's where we'll start. We'll also get into Jaguars, Colts. We'll dive into the Steelers drama with some Rodgers comments and all of what has been a crazy week for the Steelers. All of that being said, you put that aside, they've got an opportunity today against the Baltimore Ravens to win and take command of the AFC North. But before we dive into all of that, Kyler Murray is the big story, as it was announced the other day, Jonathan Gannon, that he is done for 2025, obviously dealing with the foot injury that's put him on IR, getting a second opinion, won't return this year. I think this is not even so much the actual injury. It's more so the Cardinals saying, this is it. Just sit the rest of the season. They're 3-9. They've got no chance of going anywhere. Even with him at quarterback, they weren't very good this year. And it's kind of the official beginning of the end. And, the Kyler Murray, the last couple seasons, and I think you hit it on the head there just briefly, in your open, was this has kind of been something that has been brewing for a while. Kyler Murray is one of those players that for the last 2 to 3 years, every offseason, every year during the season, he always pops up in trade conversations. Like every offseason, you kind of talk about potential trades for quarterbacks, and Kyler's name has always kind of floated around there. It's similar to like a Chris Olave, who it feels like for 3 years now is going to get traded and still hasn't gotten traded. Kyler's kind of one of those guys, but now we've officially hit the mark of there's no chance he plays another game in an Arizona Cardinal uniform. In his crazy to say that he's already in his 7th season, but here we are again with injuries, no pun intended, but hurting him and the team. He's only played 5 games. He's going to miss the entire year. You have the contract element of it. Has he played his last game? What are your thoughts just on the initial reaction of the news and kind of where things stand with him? First overall pick, and now we're here, probably the end of the road in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised, and you kind of set me up perfectly. First things first, when the news came out, you're 3-9. I mean, you're not playing for anything. There's no point if you do intend on him being your starter going into next year. Playing him this year, risking any further injury or a different injury. You're 3-9. I mean, everyone in your division, I believe, is sitting at 9-3 and 9-4, if I'm correct, when I looked earlier. So you have no fighting chance. You might as well rest him. And I think for Kyler, I think for the Cardinals, honestly, I think it's time to move on. I mean, I think this team has hit its peak, and you look in and year out of just the way it kind of seems to flip between the Rams being good, the Niners being good, Seattle always being in the mix. And it's just like they cannot be that team to compete in that division. And not putting it all on Kyler, the whole weight of the world doesn't come on his shoulders why they're not playing good football, why they're not competitive. But I just think they have maximized the potential with each other. They've tried so many things. You acquire James Conner, you draft Marvin Harrison, you bring these pieces for Kyler for this team to be good, and they still can't get it done. So I mean, it's just part of the business, and we know how it goes. You can be loved by the organization, but if you don't get the job done and you can't win games, they're going to move on. I didn't even know he's 7 years in the league so far. So 7 years, and it seems like the Cardinals have not really been good. You got to move on.
Yeah, and that's a great point that I'll kind of dive into as well. Is this is his 7th season in the league, which is crazy to think that the 2019 draft class has already been in the league for 7 years. Like it's wild how far away we are from 2019 in those days. But it's like you said, it's 7 years in the league. They've had one winning season, 11-6 in that 2020 season or 2021 season under Cliff Kingsbury, where they got to the playoffs and they got blown out against the Rams, and Kyler had a horrible game. Now, the Rams go on to win the Super Bowl. They were, of course, dominant that year, as we all know. But Kyler and that Cardinals team was awful. So the one playoff game that they did make on the road got destroyed. One winning season. And I think and you're spot on with that. This is now 2 coaches with him. Kingsbury couldn't get it done. You bring in Jonathan Cannon. They can't get it done. And the whole Cardinals thing is like they're in this kind of 3-year, year 4 of this rebuild where, you move on from Kingsbury, you bring Gannon in. First year, they only win 4 games. Last year, they were actually in the playoff conversation and stumbled late and missed the playoffs, went 8-9. And you kind of went into this season and, you have Trey McBride, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner. I know he got hurt, but you went into the season and there was some serious potential for this Cardinals team. There was some, not serious potential, but there was some optimism, I think would be the best way to describe it, that they can maybe make some noise, be a contender from a playoff standpoint, similar to the way they were last year. Kyler goes down and you look up, they're 3-9. And even with Kyler out there, they weren't playing well. But they have done a lot to build around him. Like they also brought in DeAndre Hopkins a couple years ago. And that was, a pretty big move at the time. That was like before DeAndre Hopkins really started to tail off at, the end of his career. 8-8. These are his seasons: 5-10-1, 8-8, 11-6, 4-13, 4-13, 8-9, and whatever happens this year. Now, some of those years he didn't play the best, or didn't play every game, but you've reached a point where they've hit their ceiling with Kyler. And I'll be honest, and I'll ask you this: I've always been a huge Kyler Murray defender. Like I've always came in the support of Kyler Murray ever since he got drafted to probably really up until this year. But it's hard now to really still defend and Kyler Murray when he's hurt again. The team still stinks. He had troubles getting on the same page with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, how does that happen? Where do you stand with Kyler Murray as a player? Because I've defended him for the long. I had him on my fantasy team last year. And it's not even just that. I've always thought that Kyler Murray was a lot better than people gave him credit for. And I always thought that kind of over time in Arizona would end up working out. But here we are. It's year 7. It didn't work out. Where do you stand with him?
He's just a guy. I think he's talented. I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's great enough to elevate your team. Kind of a little off track here, but where can you send him right now, hypothetically? What system can he fit in where they instantly become a playoff team because of Kyler Murray? Or a team that's already sitting in the playoffs right now? Where can he go? And, they're good. They get better.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but if he was that player, the Cardinals would be a playoff team.
Yeah.
They have enough pieces around him for him to elevate. And I think that's another point too. And you make a good point, and I'll kind of flip it back to you, not to cut you off and take it. But they gave him DeAndre Hopkins, they gave him Marvin Harrison Jr. They've given him a good amount. Has he had the most talented receivers in the world alongside him? No. There was a point, right, where Greg Dortch was the team's number one receiver, right? But they eventually fixed that. They got Marvin Harrison Jr., all that stuff. James Conner's he's had his best years of his career with Arizona. I know he's hurt, but still, prior to that, like they've given him enough. If he was that elite quarterback or even just that tier below elite, let's say maybe in like the Justin Herbert tier or something like that, they probably would have been a playoff team right now, and we would not be having this conversation about Kyler Murray. And the fact of the matter is, Kyler Murray discussion doesn't even go to the on-the-field performance. Your best ability is availability. This is a guy has only started every game in 3 seasons. 2021 14 starts, 2022 11, 8 in 2023, and he'll end this year with 5. That's also a indictment on him as well.
So. And I mean, for the contract that he's getting, it's almost like you're wasting money. When you're on the field, you're not too good. And again, that is a team collective. It's not Kyler Murray himself, and play calling. It's a big thing. But when you're on the field, the team's not looking too good. But when you're off the field, obviously the impact is felt. So I mean, I think it's a situation where both parties have to move on. But again, I mean, obviously things change year in and year out in the NFL, let alone inside a division. As you can see, there's never been a repeat in NFC East. But you look at this division and how well this division has looked over the past few years. I don't think with Kyler, the team will ever be good enough to compete in the West, and I think it's time to move on from him.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, they were 2-3 this year with him under center. Does this feel like, with Kyler Murray moving on, and we can dive into some potential teams. And here's the thing with Kyler, and this is what makes it tricky with the Cardinal standpoint, is just doing some research on it. So if they would to release Kyler Murray, even if they release him as a post-June 1, which usually saves some money, a post-June 1 would still result in a dead cap charge of $50.6 million in 2026. Now, trading him would be it's still a hit, but it's only $17.9 million. So it feels like your best course of action from Arizona's standpoint is trading him as opposed to just cutting him and a team picking him up, just because of the difference in the cap hit. You also can potentially get some value back in that. I don't really know what necessarily you're going to get back for Kyler at this point. But I mean, you could probably net a day 3 pick. Not probably, you will net a day 3 pick. I mean, I think Darnold netted like a 4th round pick, I think, from the Jets. Not that I'm comparing the two, but like Kyler is going to fall under that umbrella. And this is the next point I make. Kyler's kind of falling under that umbrella of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, failed in their first stop as a high draft pick. Really Baker, because they were number 1 overall picks. Now they get another opportunity. Do you feel with Kyler Murray? Now he's got the big contract, right? The 5-year. I mean, he's making $46 million a year. Guaranteed is over $100 million. It's a massive contract that you'll look back on as a Cardinal fan and regret a lot of it. I mean, I think the first year they could actually get out of his contract would be 2028. So even if they didn't move on from him, they'd still have him for another 2 years before they can even get out of it. So it's a really bad contract. Do you feel, though, Kyler can follow in the Darnold or Baker Mayfield, even let's say a Jared Goff, where he gets traded? Goff, of course, out of the Rams. Now, Goff was better with the Rams, but the Jared Goff example of moving to Detroit and taking his game to another level. Not that he was necessarily bad with the Rams. Kyler, Baker, and Darnold were not very good. Like, do you feel that could happen with Kyler, where change of scenery, best for both sides type of thing?
Yeah, there's a possibility, and there's one spot that I kind of think of, which this spot is tricky. We talked so much about this team and their lack of offense and, running offense since everything was black and white, but that might be Pittsburgh. I mean, we don't know what Rodgers' direction might be after this year, even though it seems he's leaning close to retirement. So if you're not ready to, roll Will Howard out there, you don't think he's learned enough, you go trade for Kyler. See if Mike Tomlin's still there, of course. That's kind of been a thing circulating, it seems like. But if Tomlin is still there, you bring Kyler over. You got DK Metcalf over there. You acquire more weapons, whether that's in the draft, whether that's in, trading for him during the offseason, and you see what they can make work. But outside of that, I mean, I think that's the only spot where he could potentially go and get that change of scenery. It's not impossible. We continuously see it. I think he can make it work. But for Kyler, I mean, right now, if you're kind of in this situation where if you do leave Arizona and you go to another spot and you don't get it done, you're probably gonna be one of the biggest busts the NFL has ever seen. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but I mean, for the first overall pick, how things went
Yeah.
in Arizona, you go somewhere else and you can't get it done, or you're just not good. It's not a good look for you.
Yeah, it's tough gauging the whole bust thing because like, when you look at some of the biggest, like Zach Wilson being one of the biggest busts, he just
Yeah.
sucked when he was on the field. At least Kyler's had some moments. And that was always my defense of Kyler. You look at his first 3 seasons, 20 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns, 24 touchdowns. He almost threw for 4,000 yards in 2020. If they played 17 games back then, he would have. But he had some good seasons. And even in 2022, he only played 11 games, but he threw 14 touchdowns. So he was on pace for another 20-plus touchdown season. He was putting together like solid seasons, not number 1 overall pick, but solid NFL seasons. It's just tough to defend him now when you compare his play to the contract and not being available and the overall team results. At some point, losing these games does also fall on the quarterback's shoulders. Not all of it, but it does sometimes go back to the quarterback. So now I'll give you another team. A lot of AFC teams. You mentioned the Steelers. I'd even throw the Jets in that conversation too. If you don't draft a quarterback here in 2026, even if you do, you take maybe a potential day 2 or day 3 option. Who's your bridge? You're not bringing Fields back. Tyrod's contract up. Do they maybe go out and trade for a Kyler Murray? What's interesting about the Jets situation is, Glenn's coming from Detroit where they made the trade for Jared Goff, who was kind of that distrungled, needed a change of scenery. Do they view Kyler as that same situation where needs a change of scenery, needs a new beginning? You bring him here and hope it works out. If not, you're probably drafting a quarterback in 2027. And if we're being honest, Kyler's probably the best bridge option. Like if you're comparing him to Marcus Mariota, like Gardner Minshew and these other quarterbacks, he'd probably be the best out of all of them. That's not saying much, but my biggest thing is just taking on that contract, depending on how much Arizona would swallow. But Pittsburgh, the Browns, maybe, the Raiders. There's a lot of QB needy teams.
Thought the Raiders, that was another one that I kind of was going to touch on, but not good enough. Kyler and the Raiders not good enough to get to the playoffs. But I do like the Jets. Honestly, not really thinking that one. Just considering, I'm like, maybe the Jets draft a quarterback, but I think people don't see it. The Jets have talent. Gary Wilson's very good. Mm-hmm. A.D. Mitchell's looked pretty decent since coming over in the Colts trade. You still have Brees. Offensively, that team has talent. Yes, they do need more talent. I still think you need a wide receiver too. Move A.D. Mitchell to that wide receiver 3 spot. You need a tight end. But they have very good young talent. So, someone like Kyler that might be able to elevate, those guys and just that change of scenery you always talk on, I don't think that is a bad landing spot. And the only thing for the Jets, though, you look at the quarterback playing that division, and, we're looking forward here, but do you trust Kyler to go into Buffalo late in, November, early December and go get a win? Do you trust him to go into New England right now to go get a win? That's the only thing with Kyler. But as a bridge, I don't think it's a bad idea. Right now you look at the QB play. We talked about it briefly off air. You look at the QB play in college football right now, there's nobody besides maybe Fernando Mendoza that really hops out at you and say, come draft me. So Kyler is a bridge for you. You look into the following where guys like, Lagway and Arch, who I know have not looked too great this year, but those guys are available. I think you go the bridge option.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't know. I've kind of lost my defense of Kyler Murray, as that was clear in this pod. Like I don't necessarily believe in him much anymore. I just the Jets. I could see both sides of it. It's just I don't know, taking on the contract, and I would probably stay away, but who knows? It's still December, and like you said, there's not many great quarterbacks out there. Other options in the draft, you nail it on the head. Probably Fernando Mendoza, and the problem is the Jets aren't in a position right now. They're picking number 7. Now a lot can change, but they're not in a position to get the number 1 overall pick. They probably won't get the number 1 overall pick. Maybe Dante Moore declares whatever. But if you don't love a quarterback, you shouldn't just rush and take one. So it's a tricky spot. But here we are again with the quarterbacks, though. How much last year did we hear, 2026 class is going to has all-time potential. And where's Cade Klubnik? Where's Garrett Nussmeier? Where's Drew Allen? Where's all these guys at the beginning of the year that we heard were going to win the Heisman and were, the home run picks? There's going to be 10 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Like, where's all that now? Just saying. So, by the way, you mentioned the going on the road against Buffalo. No faith in him. Going on the road against the Patriots, no faith. 8-22 in his career against the NFC West. So that also tells you a lot about some of his play in the division, including the only playoff game of his career, losing by 37-11. I think the final score was against the Rams. So,
and cliche before we move on here, but your best way to get into the playoffs is to win your division. And 8-22 is not going to get it done.
No. Now, one quick thing, and then we'll move on. Cliff Kingsbury, if he gets hired, do you see a potential Kyler Murray reunion? Is that a spot where I don't know where Kingsbury would have to get hired with one of these QB needy teams, which is kind of tough because he's probably not, I don't view the Steelers hiring him, the Raiders. Maybe if the Browns move on from Stefanski and they hire Kingsbury, I don't know. But maybe that's a destination. Either way.
Yeah, nothing wrong with bringing a piece you're familiar with. I can see it.
Yes. And supposedly they still have a strong relationship.
Yeah.
I believe. It's not like one of those previous quarterback coach relationships. Although the only thing there that for whatever team would do that, now this is really stretching it. Like, two things have to happen. You got to hire Cliff Kingsbury, and then he's got to trade for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Maybe Cliff Kingsbury loves one of these rookies, but it's kind of not that would be disappointing, but we already saw what the two did together. What are the chances now that all of a sudden Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, right? In the 4 years that Kingsbury was there, they had one winning season, which they got to the playoffs and lost. And then they had an 8-8 season, a 5-win season, a 4-win season. Are they really going to now go to a new spot and all of a sudden take over? I don't know. A lot of people like Kingsbury though as a second-time head coach, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, moving on now to this week's slate, starting with the Jaguars and the Colts, a big game in the AFC South. Two teams heading in the complete opposite direction. You've got a Jaguars team that is red hot right now versus a Colts team that is really struggling, quarterback that's banged up. Feels like their magic from their 7-1 start has kind of worn off, as over the last 4 games, they're 1-3. From the Jaguars standpoint, the lowest they got was getting blown out against the Rams. In that London game, they fell to 4-3, and they had their bye week. They've now come out of their bye week. They're 4-1. They've gone to 8-4. They beat up on the Chargers. They beat up on the Titans last week, as they should. They did have some close ones against the Cardinals and the Raiders, both of those games going to overtime, which then remind you, is this Jaguars team really legit or not? Weird team. Go to overtime against the Raiders, smoke the Chargers. What are your thoughts on this one just initially? Big AFC South matchup, first place here on the line. Two teams that are, going to meet each other twice here in December. This is the first meeting, Colts at home or Jaguars at home in this one. It's a big one.
This one's huge. This one probably, I know we're going to talk Steelers-Ravens after this, but I think this might be the biggest game of the day.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk Texans a little later, but both teams sitting at 8-4. You got Houston lurking back there at 7-5, and a win today gets them to 8. This one is humongous. First and foremost for Jacksonville, it's so crazy how far they come. We talk about this team not being any good, and Trevor Lawrence, your time is up in Jacksonville if you don't figure it out. next thing you know, like you said, you 4-1 your last 2 weeks. You're sitting in first place right now. A win today definitely gives you that extra, room for error, if needed later on down the year. And it's so crazy. I haven't watched Jackson. I watched Jacksonville maybe once this year.
Yeah, it's.
But
Oh no, you could go. You could go.
I was probably gonna say what you want to say. I got to show you how good Liam Cohen has been. That's another one we kind of talked about. Like what Trevor Lawrence is this, and look what he did with Baker. He can't do it with Trevor. This team has found a way to bounce back, and they look good. They're playing very good football. I mean, in their luck today, the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2015.
Yes.
So if you are Jacksonville, things are in your favor today. Obviously, Daniel Jones still dealing with that broken fibula, which didn't seem like it affected him too much last week. You saw some moments where it did. You've seen some moments where it didn't. But if you are Jacksonville and the Colts as well, kind of, this game almost today seems like a win and you're in type of situation. So either way, I mean, I think Jacksonville gets it done. But this is a huge game today.
Yeah, it's massive. It's this is a big one from the Jacksonville standpoint for some of the doubters like us. You go on the road, beat the Colts here, get to 9 or beat the Colts at home, not on the road. Sorry. Continue that streak, get to 9-4. They'll have the Jets next week, and then the Broncos after that, then the Colts. Like this is a big opportunity for them to start to get a string of wins together. And yeah, this is like the first real opportunity for the signature Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence combo win. Sure, they blew out the Chargers and they beat the Niners, which was a nice win. They beat the Chiefs, but this is different from the divisional standpoint. You're starting to show that maybe this team could be legit. Go out there and really show it today. You just think, though, about some of the Colts losses that they've had in Jacksonville. It's been some bad ones.
Yeah.
You go back to I believe it was the COVID year when they collapsed with Wentz. Or no, maybe not the COVID. It might have been the year after, because the COVID year, the Jaguars only won one game. But the COVID year last week of the season, I believe, or the 2021 maybe last week of the season with Wentz, they lost that game and they collapsed. There's been some bad ones with the Colts. I'm right there with you in terms of the Jaguars winning this game. Not to, I might have just spoiled one of my underdog picks, but not only is Daniel Jones beat up, but Sauce is also out in this game too.
Yeah.
So the Colts are kind of back to their secondary previous, prior to the trade deadline in this one. And the Jaguars, Jacoby Myers has been playing well. Even Brenton Strange, the tight ends, had some really good weeks here the last couple of games. Jacoby Myers is quietly looking like a really, really big trade deadline acquisition. Brian Thomas Jr. continues to struggle. What was that?
We bashed it. We said it was no good. What are they doing? We bashed it. It's looking good.
It is looking good. I think it also shows how much Jacoby Myers actually wanted to get out of Vegas and how bad Geno Smith is.
Mix of both.
Yes. Yeah. Which is, it's you have to be really bad to make Trevor Lawrence look this good. So, 50 yards and a touchdown against Arizona, 90 yards and a touchdown against Tennessee. So back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. He also had 64 yards against the Chargers in that big win, which is another receiving threat. I mean, quietly, though, if the Jaguars go on and win this division and let's say, I don't know, make a run in the playoffs and Jacoby Myers plays well, that could quietly go down as the best move at the deadline, because prior to that receiving room was rough. He's completely taken over that Brian Thomas Jr. or what Brian Thomas Jr. should be for that team.
Yeah. That's crazy. We really thought this was not such a good move for Jacksonville too much, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, they get into the playoffs with, again, a win. Winning the division is going to get you there, and if they win today, I think they're in a comfortable spot. But you get to the playoffs, and he has a big performance or two, that's going to look very good. And I mean, I'm kind of seeing how things are going now after the trade. I'm really not surprised because you look at Liam Cohen and look how he did with Baker when Baker had Evans out there and you had Godwin and McMillan stepped into the role. It's like you're almost getting that like McMillan like, all right, let me come alive, step up, make some big plays type of thing. So I'm really not too surprised that Jacksonville is looking good. Now I'm about to contradict here and make no sense. Then again, I am because Trevor Lawrence is now starting to play good. This was someone where you kind of thought just a guy go out there 20, 24 touchdowns a year. He has played very good. He's taking care of the ball, and that's the big thing for Jacksonville. So I think if Lawrence continues to just dial in, lock in, let your playmakers do what they need to do, and you don't try to play hero ball. You're not at Clemson no more. You're gonna win games. They're doing that very well. He's doing that very well. So as much time as I spent bashing Trevor Lawrence for his lack of production, shout out Trevor Lawrence. He's playing good ball.
Yeah. Big thing with him still remains the interceptions. He's up to 11 now, but he plays less turnover-free football, and at Brian Thomas Jr.'s disposal now, or Jacoby Myers at his disposal now. Bretton Strange has really stepped up here the last couple of weeks, which is a credit to Trevor for getting him the ball. Those are, key pieces here to keep an eye on as you head into this one. And just the way the AFC playoff picture is, the Colts have now dropped to number 6 in the standings. So a loss today, you really fall back in the division, and a Titans win, you put yourself in a really interesting spot as the Colts, where you go from 7-1 to, oh crap, we might not even make the playoffs. So from their perspective, really both teams' perspective, Jacksonville as well, both those teams are in some interesting spots because the 5 and 6 and 7 seeds are all 8-4. Then the 3 seeds 8-4. So it's kind of just a clump of 8-4 teams in the AFC playoff picture outside of the AFC North winner, who will probably be 9-8. And then the Patriots and the Broncos, who of course lead the way with the 2 losses. Interesting. Now, do you think, not to cut you off, but do you think that out of the AFC South, who makes it? Is there 2 or only 1 team? Well, it's going to be 2. Because if the Colts, if it's whoever wins the division, let's say the Jaguars for the sake of this exercise, then it's going to either be the Colts or the Texans that probably get that final spot.
I think it's 2. And I mean, like I said, I'm going to get into it later. Don't want to spoil it. Right now, Houston's sitting at 75. Win today, Houston's sitting at 8. And let's say hypothetically, some way, somehow, which, could happen. If Buffalo loses, I believe that puts Buffalo at 8-5. Houston has the tiebreaker over Buffalo because of the head-to-head. So, I mean, I think 2 gets in. I think it's obviously going to be the winner of division, which I think is going to be Jacksonville. And then, I mean, we're talking about either Houston or Indy. It's just so close. Like, the AFC is so close. There's no room for error. But if I had to take a guess, I'm going to go Jacksonville and I'm going to go Houston. I think the Colts miss out completely.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you, too, and I don't want to spoil that completely. But, this time of year, a lot of it's about, who's playing their best football. And right now, the Colts are playing their worst football of the year. Jaguars and Texans are playing their best. And that carries a lot of weight this time of year. Sometimes it's all about the hottest team is the one that gets in. And we'll see what happens later today with the Texans and that big matchup on Sunday night against the Chiefs, a chance to really bury the Chiefs. But you look at the Texans, I mean, they've already beaten the Colts. They'll still face them the last week of the season. But 4 in a row here. And Stroud looked pretty good last week in the win over the Colts. So we'll see how that all plays out. Anyway, staying in the AFC. We'll jump away from the AFC South, and then we'll move back into the AFC South later on to close out the show. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, battle of mid. I guess we can crown this one today in the AFC North, as it is the 6-6 Ravens. Both teams, by the way, coming off just truly horrendous losses. you could not have put together just I don't want to say a worse time for these two teams to meet, but probably the lowest points for these two teams to meet. You have a Steelers team coming off a 26-7 loss against the Bills, and the Ravens coming off a 32-14 loss against the Bengals on Thanksgiving where they got embarrassed. So these two teams got completely embarrassed. Steelers fans were booing Renegade, which is their song they, of course, play at the fourth quarter. I mean, maybe this is great timing because both of these teams desperately need like a big win to turn their season around. And out of all the craziness, whoever wins today is in first place in the AFC North and has full command of the division with 5 games to go. Just what are your overall thoughts on this matchup before we kind of break down both teams, and then we'll obviously get to Rodgers.
This is just two teams playing to get eliminated in the wild card round.
Yeah.
That's what I get from that. At home, these teams stink. I mean, both of these teams stink. We're not surprised from Pittsburgh's angle of it, but Baltimore, oh my God. I mean, Lamar hasn't thrown a touchdown in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Lamar has not rushed for a touchdown since, I believe, week 3 against the Lions. Like, where's Lamar Jackson? When healthy, of course, he's missed time. But when healthy, where has Lamar Jackson been? And as you can see, as you know, this team runs off Lamar. If he looks awful, they're going to look awful. And this Ravens team, I mean, I'm sorry, I know you had them in your Super Bowl pick. I believe you had them, if I'm correct. Or was it? I think it was
Yes.
Ravens-Eagles.
Ravens-Eagles, which just, I mean, the Eagles, they've got a positive bunny in their locker room. So the Super Bowl pick's going great.
A positive bunny. That is what they inserted in their locker room. For the Ravens, I mean, this is a bad football team, and I was going to wait until later. I guess I'll just touch on it now. You're talking about the Steelers issues. Have you seen the alleged leaks of Ravens Reddit and what's going on there? For those who don't know, apparently, I think they say it was Zay Flowers. Apparently, Zay Flowers' girlfriend leaked some stuff on Reddit just about things that the Ravens have going on and what's going wrong. One of them being like Lamar and a bunch of other guys want Harbaugh gone and been wanting him gone for some time now. Lots of phone calls on that. Players, like extra security in the hotel room for away games because players are sneaking out of the hotels to go out, night before games. All that type of stuff, which was leaked on Reddit by, again, we believe Zay Flowers' girlfriend. So if any of that is the truth, it kind of speaks volumes on this team because we have talked about this time and time again where, yes, the NFL does change. And I know I'm a broken record when I say that, but there's no way a team, and I understand the injuries, but there's no way a team that is almost a lock every year to at least play in the divisional championship and, a lock for 12 to 14 wins. We're sitting at 6-6, and we're hoping you can beat Pittsburgh in a Week 14 matchup. It says a lot about what's going on in that organization. Obviously, if that is true, Harbaugh has lost the locker room, which would make sense. You see it on the field. Sneaking out before games, you see it on the field. It kind of all makes sense if, that stuff doesn't end up being confirmed. But you might be a genius because you mentioned this during the offseason. Hey, if Harbaugh can't figure it out this year, is he gone? Is he done? The players want him gone, allegedly. And I think if Baltimore loses today, I think they ultimately miss the playoffs, and Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh, whichever Harbaugh it is, will be gone during the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you. And we've talked about this a lot, going back to the offseason, that Harbaugh is one of those coaches that if they don't win the Super Bowl every year, he's going to kind of be thrown into that hot seat conversation. The amount of years that they continue to go by without capitalizing on the Lamar window, similar to Sean McDermott in Buffalo, a little bit of Shanahan as well with the Niners, where these last couple of years, you kind of wonder, okay, how many more Super Bowls are we going to have where he's not going to win? You had the bad year last year. Now they've turned around this year and had a solid season, but this was also kind of a year going into with Shanahan where it was like, okay, if you have another losing season, do you blow it up? Now with both of those coaches, if all of them got fired, there might be teams going out of their way to fire their coaches to hire them, especially Shanahan and Harbaugh. McDermott, maybe a little bit different just because he doesn't quite have the track record. I would say Shanahan's and Harbaugh's a little bit greater, but not that Shanahan's won a Super Bowl. Neither has Harbaugh. But either way, you get the point. Shanahan's name carries some more weight. The Ravens are a mess. There's no other way to put it. Lamar's clearly hindered by the injury. He's not running the same. I mean, when he faced the Jets, I mean, there was so many times where he could have broke free and picked up a ton of yards and do Lamar things that he usually does, and he didn't do it. You mentioned he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 weeks. His only rushing touchdowns came in week 1 against Buffalo. That was like their best performance. Was probably Buffalo in week 2 against Cleveland.
Yep.
When they blow them out.
Yep.
And since that point, they've really struggled. And the defense in those games was really bad. Now, the defense was starting to play better. And then last week, it struggled against a very good Ravens offense. And the Ravens offense, which has been struggling, really got exposed because the 5-game win streak, a lot of that was the defense, not the offense. Last week, defense struggles, similar to what it was happening earlier in the year. Offense doesn't show up. Lamar plays terrible, and they lose. You haven't gotten, even from a run game standpoint, the run game's not even as dominant. I mean, last week, Derrick Henry only got 10 carries, which is tough to give him the ball when you're down by that many points. But there's been some weeks this year where he's been like a non-factor. He's still having a good year, don't get me wrong, but there's been some weeks where he's really struggled. And as a team, now a lot of that goes back to when Cooper Rush and Huntley were starting, but that 5-game win streak was so fluky. And it's hard to envision this Ravens team. Now, it's not hard to envision them making the playoffs because the AFC North is that bad, but it's hard to envision this team going anywhere. And you'd have to think that Harbaugh's probably gone, especially if that, that stuff is true, because, this is another year now of no Super Bowl and what would be different about this year is, like you said, you're used to seeing this team in the divisional round every year, pretty much. This year, you don't get that done. I mean, in the years with Lamar Jackson, they've only lost the wild card twice. Other than that, the other years with the playoffs, divisional, conference, divisional. So this would fall into that, wild card category. After, by the way, losing the divisional round last year in a game where you probably should have won against the Bills with the whole Mark Andrews drop and all of that stuff. So neither team's in a good spot. From the Steelers standpoint, it's a train wreck. You've got Rodgers throwing teammates under the bus, which I saw this last year, throwing teammates under the bus. You go to film sessions. We talk about the routes, run the right route. Jonnu Smith ran a outbreaker. Rodgers wanted to run an inbreaker. I believe that was the sequence. Rodgers did the same thing, by the way, early in the year. Not a lot of people picked up on this, but Calvin Austin ran the wrong route in a game early in the season, and Rodgers talked about, that can't happen. He threw him under the bus a little bit. Nobody really talked about it because the Steelers were 4-1. They were winning, and it all got covered up. But now that they're losing, here goes Rodgers again with throwing guys under the bus. And the best part about the Rodgers throwing guys under the bus is he'll basically say, okay, Jonnu Smith ran the wrong route. He'll bash him. And then he'll turn around and say, he's a veteran. He's a pro. I know he'll get it fixed. I know he cares a ton. Then all of a sudden he'll let me talk up Jonnu Smith. He did the same thing with Calvin Austin. Oh, he ran the wrong route. He can't do that. Oh, but he's a great kid. He'll be okay. Let me just crush him first and then turn around and give him, after I completely destroyed him in my post-game press conference, now let me turn around and talk highly of him. This feels like the Steelers have reached a boiling point.
It's over. It is over. I mean, it's right on par for your usual November football Steelers type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, you're 4-1. Now we're talking 4-1. I think at this time, Burrow was already hurt. I think Lamar was already hurt. definitely both are already hurt and missing games. You're 4-1. The division is yours to lose. Now we're talking about you completely missing the playoffs because you're sitting at 6-6. And honestly, are we surprised? We talked about it during the offseason. We don't see how this is going to work, which hasn't been in Tomlin issue. We kind of thought the two were butt heads. But as you can see, the same way you experienced it, and I'm sorry you did, but the same way it kind of ended in New York, and the same way it kind of ended in Green Bay with LaFleur and Rodgers, where if it's not Rodgers' way, things aren't going, like, you're not going to succeed. And if things do go Rodgers' way, you're also not going to succeed. Like, it's a lose-lose situation when it comes to Rodgers as your quarterback. And I mean, if we're going to be honest here, yeah, like, the defense hasn't looked too good this year. Obviously, they had that great one against the Colts, but Mr. Rodgers, don't sit here in your press conferences and act like you're going out there and you're balling, you're playing, heck of a game. You have not looked too great this year. Like, elite Rodgers, Green Bay Rodgers, I mean, this team's sitting at 2 losses. Regardless of how things are going, you're no longer that player. You guys have not looked good. And guess what? In this situation, a quarterback plays a big factor of it. I know I love to preach like, hey, you can't put all the blame on the quarterback, but offensively, you guys stink. And you are a big part of that. So for him to go out there and throw guys under the bus when he's not playing good is insane. But again, this is who he's always been. And I mean, I think this 1-year experiment is done. This team, they're not getting anywhere with Rodgers. I think the divorce is needed.
No, and you know what's funny is, well, not funny, but it's kind of quite the coincidence. One of the things they always praise Tomlin about is the culture that the Steelers have had year in and year out. Like, this feels like kind of the first time where there's some cracks in this culture. There's some cracks in that locker room. They're not playing, the defense isn't playing connected. It feels like they're a disconnected group. And you can only help but think they're disconnected because you've got a non-leader at quarterback. That's just the way it is. And you're spot on. I was going to bring this up too. It would be one thing for Rodgers to go out there and criticize guys in his press conference if he was on pace for a 45 touchdown season. He was the MVP favorite. And maybe the Steelers were, 10-2, and they just lost their second straight game after being 10-0, and in some alternate universe where the Steelers offense is good. His QBR is awful. He has a 40.5 QBR, which is only better than, here are the names: Geno Smith, Cam Ward, Justin Fields, and Tua. Cam Ward, rookie, terrible position, terrible spot, hasn't played well. Geno Smith might be one of the worst quarterbacks. Like, honestly, Geno Smith this season got to be some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen in my life. Justin Fields got benched, and Tua's going through a career worst season where he's tied for the most interception in football. And by the way, here are some of the names that have a better QBR than Rodgers: Jacoby Brissett, Spencer Rattler, Jaden Daniels. Now, he's only played 6 games. So that really doesn't count. But Rattler,
that counts.
It's
even if he's only played 6 games. I mean,
games.
You know how bad his QBR had to been to play the whole season and be under Rodgers. That speaks volumes.
Trevor Lawrence, Flacco, Brissett. Those are some of the names that ahead of him. Michael Penix ahead of him. That's where we're at with Rob. And he's just watch the games. He's old. He can't move. He's slow. I mean, he looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with his nose last week. His nose was all beat up. He's got the wrist injury. He can't take snaps from under center because the wrist problems. It's only going out of the shotgun, which is hindering the offense. Not that the offense is any good with him under center. Maybe they're in the year 1931 as opposed to 1930, but still, I don't know how much shotgun they ran back then. So
I don't think any.
Probably not. You know what the Steelers need? They need, and here we are again. They're mediocre. Like, they're so mediocre. They continue to be as far away from the number 1 overall pick as they are a Super Bowl. And, it's crazy to think that this Rodgers experiment might end without the playoffs, and to think that Russell Wilson got them to the playoffs, Mason Rudolph got them to the playoffs. Is that not a direct indictment on Rodgers? That Tomlin was able to get Russ and Mason. Russ that playoff run looks even more of a miracle now. I don't want to say a playoff run, but playoff berth, because Russ is awful. You talk about some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. Russell Wilson's completely cooked. He's got nothing left.
And
he was able to get Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson to the playoffs. He was able to take a old Ben Roethlisberger and sneak in. And you go with Rodgers, and it's crazy. This is the worst this Steelers team has looked in this era of Mike Tomlin football. I'm not talking about his entire time here. I'm talking about since they moved on from Big Ben and they've been on this playoff drought streak where they haven't had good quarterback play, because at least the defense was playing well. That's not even playing well anymore. Plus the quarterback stinks. DK Metcalf, I know it wasn't his best performance on Thursday night, but I don't think it's no coincidence that George Pickens leaves Pittsburgh, has a huge season. DK Metcalf goes into Pittsburgh and hasn't had a very good season.
That was to my point. I mean, you look at this team has more talent, in my opinion, than the team that Russ had. All you had was George Pickens. Now you can say, okay, well, now all you have is DK Metcalf. But Jalen Warren's been having a pretty decent year. They hop up for some reason. Darnell Washington is so hyped up for some odd reason. Don't understand why. But you got Darnell Washington. You traded for Jonathan Smith. And you look at this team, you're like, okay, there's talent. And your quarterback stinks. So I am in agreement. This is one of the worst teams that we have seen Mike Tomlin ever have to coach. And ironically, it all boils down to Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It all falls on his plate. And, the Steelers are better off, or the Packers were better off without him. He was a disaster with the Jets, and now we're here with the Steelers, and the best they're going to probably do is win 9 games. Now, they lose today to the Ravens.
Absolutely.
There's a chance their season completely tanks. Like, locker room completely gives up on Rodgers. Tomlin's probably out. If they lose today, I'm going to say that they win maybe one more game, because they're going to then lose to the Ravens again. They might be they'll lose to the Lions. They do have the Dolphins and the Browns, they might lose to Cleveland.
I mean, and if Miami is in Pittsburgh, then yeah, they probably beat Miami. They can't play in the bowl, but if they're going to Miami, they probably lose that one. Their defense isn't good.
I'll tell you what. I swear the schedule makers every single season just purposely screw Miami, because every year late in the season, they've got to play these games in the cold. Now, that's hard not to do because, they are in the NFC East or AFC East against a bunch of cold weather teams, but Miami's got to play today against the Jets and then next week in Pittsburgh, back-to-back games in the cold. So we'll see. But yeah, Pittsburgh, it's a train wreck. You wonder if who even knows? Now, do you think who wins today wins the division?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on the same page here. I think it's going to be Baltimore. I think they sweep Pittsburgh. They win the division. I just don't see Pittsburgh getting it done. I mean, again, there's issues within the locker room. I think you hit it perfectly where there's a crack in the culture. You can see it, even though it's probably not spoken upon. I just don't think this team has the ingredients to win the division, let alone do anything in the playoffs. So I think Baltimore wins today. They ultimately ended up being able to be the first to land a Cancun trip.
Yes. Or a trip to Rodgers and Malibu home.
I'm going to say you're going to say second. Pittsburgh will be first, and then Baltimore will be right with them next flight out the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that the wild card, they're going to be going straight to Cancun after the wild card game.
Exactly. So, especially, I mean, get a home game in Baltimore more than likely. Pack your bags, get ready to fly out the next day, get a margarita ready.
I'll tell you what, whoever is that 5 seed is one lucky team.
And do you kind of off topic here, kind of not.
Yeah, do you tank for the 5 seed or?
Yeah, like if you're the Colts, for instance, are you kind of looking at the standings and just like, hey, I mean, we risk a home playoff game, but let's go to Baltimore.
Yeah, or Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Or I mean, do you
or
purposely tank for the 5 seed?
Cincinnati Bengals. Not done yet. They
Need
win.
a
This
win
is the
today.
Bengals special. They'll
Need a
win
win
5 in
today.
a row. Watch out. Bengals coming 5 in a row. They still got the Ravens on their schedule. It's not over yet.
Yeah. You need a win today. This is a big one for. I mean, I know we
Yes.
didn't talk about it, but yes, the Bengals at 4-8 have a huge game today.
Yes. If the Bengals win today, their remaining schedule is the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns.
They'll win out.
If they beat the Bills and beat the Ravens, they're probably going to win the AFC. There's a chance they win the AFC North.
That is a team
crazy.
I do not want to go as a 5 seed on the road and play Cincy. The other two, please,
yes,
please let me play them on. But Cincy, absolutely not.
No, Ravens, Steelers, totally different story. Bengals, especially, they'd be hot too because that'd be 6 straight wins with Burrow playing well. No chance. Bengals, honestly, would be one of those teams that, call me crazy, if they got into the playoffs, they could be like a dark horse to make a run easily. They have all the tools to make a run. Ravens and Steelers, not so much. All right, another game today. Texans, Chiefs, little AFC South, AFC West matchup here. This is a massive one for both teams. For a Texans team, still in the conversation there in the AFC South, still right in the mix in the playoff picture. From the Chiefs' perspective, this feels like an elimination game.
Yeah.
You lose today, fall to 6-7 on the season. It's tough to muster up positivity that you're going to be able to turn this thing around and make the playoffs as a 10-win team. What are your thoughts heading into this one?
This is a bigger game, in my opinion, for the Texans than it is the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are already eliminated. I mean, I said this 2 weeks ago. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and they should have been eliminated. The Colts found a way to fumble that game at the end. Even though mathematically, I was looking at some things, the Chiefs are not out of, especially with the win today. They are still right in the mix, but I think for Houston,
they've got none of the tiebreakers.
Yeah, that's another problem that kind of was looking at. But for Houston, I mean, right now you're third in the division. You are still very much in the mix. You've already split with Jacksonville. You have another matchup with the Colts that you will play in Week 18. So you are very much alive. Only thing for Houston, they've lost 5 straight to Kansas City. And coincidence is a thing. Superstition is a thing. Yeah. And I say that because, I mean, to lose 5 straight, you really don't, as an outsider, you don't have confidence for them to get the job done. It's the same with the Colts going into Jacksonville today. You don't have confidence when you see those type of things. It's like a hump that you can't get over. I think they do it today, though. I think the Houston Texans are going to beat the Chiefs and keep their season alive. I mean, I said this last week or week before. Shout out Davis Mills for keeping them afloat. Yes. Stroud has looked good since he's gotten back. Kansas City has not looked good. We've seen a lot of weaknesses, especially in that Dallas game, that I think, Houston's kind of build off of and go out and get it done. And I think they do that today, knowing exactly where they're sitting in the standings.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like the Texans today a lot. They're hot. They've won 4 games in a row. That defense continues to play really, really well. It's hard to imagine this Chiefs offense mustering much up against this defense. Stroud played well last week, which was kind of the big question is, right? Or he played okay last week, I guess. I mean, did he have the pick? I don't think he threw a touchdown. So he played okay, I guess.
He game managed. He game managed enough to get the job done.
Yeah, they did enough to get the win. The defense just dominating. I mean, they kept Jonathan Taylor for the most part in check. Alec Pierce, I know, had a pretty good game, but they did what they needed to do on the road. And then they win. And I agree with you there. And the Chiefs, it's tough to imagine the Chiefs making the playoffs. Even if they win out, if they get to 11-6, it may be a different story, but they're probably not getting to 11-6 with their schedule. But all the tiebreakers, they don't have them. They lost to the Chargers, potential tiebreaker. They lost to the Jaguars. They lost to the Bills. Like all of the teams ahead of them, they all lost to. So they'd have to hope those teams, Texans today, if they lose, that'd be another tiebreaker they potentially miss out on. All of those teams, you finish with the same record than them, you're not going to be able to get in. And that's the tough part with where the Chiefs are at, is they only have so many more games to go. 5 games left. You lose today. Even if you win out, it's tough to envision 10-7 getting you in with the amount of tiebreakers you don't have there. So that's where things stand there with Kansas City.
I mean, Kyle was breaking it down. If the Chiefs win today and Houston loses, that puts both of them at 7-6. Obviously, tiebreaker will go to Kansas City. If Pittsburgh loses, they fall to 6-7. So I believe that will move the Chiefs up to 8, Houston be at 9, Pittsburgh will be at 10, or even 11, depending on if Miami wins.
Yeah.
So therefore, I mean, just to simply put it this way, if the Chiefs lose, I think the season's over. If the Chiefs win today, you are still very much in the mix again. You will be sitting at the AC right behind Buffalo, but you're going to need a lot of things to go in your favor for throughout the rest of the year in order to make a push, and I just don't see that getting done.
You all know what's crazy? If the Dolphins win today and the Chiefs lose, they have the same record.
They do. They're very much in the mix.
That is a sad, sad way to think about it if you're a Chiefs fan. That, I think, to me, just me right now, because I didn't even really think of it that way. That, to me, I think should show you how far the Chiefs are away right now from a playoffs. Is if the Dolphins win today and the Chiefs lose, they're right there with Miami. And Miami's been counted out for the entire year.
I mean, they had a players meeting, a players only meeting. Yeah. What was that, week 1 after the season?
Oh, yeah, training camp, something like that.
McDaniel was on the verge of being fired. They've already fired their GM.
Yeah.
People are trying to ship to it.
Tyreek Hill hurt.
Tyreek Hill is hurt. I forgot Tyreek Hill even played for the team. They want to ship Tua back to Tuscaloosa. And, Miami has been out of it for so long. Things look so bad. And now you're sitting at, with the win today, you're sitting at 6-7, and the Chiefs lose. You are also tied with Miami. Whew, that's a brutal gut punch for a team that has always been so good. But hey, I love it. I'm sick of the Chiefs. I'm sick of the media when it comes to the Chiefs. Let's go ahead and let's pack it up. Let's go ahead and pack it up, Houston. That's all I'm gonna ask for you today. Get the job done. I'm tired of hearing about the Chiefs and seeing what they've been doing. So I'm the biggest Houston fan there is today.
Yes, I'm right there with you. I think seeing a Houston win would be nice and really make things even more interesting in the AFC South playoff picture. All right, shall we get to an underdog picks to close out today's show?
Yes, I am 0-1 to start.
Yes, 0-1 to start. Went with the Cowboys on Thursday night, which I actually liked that pick. I did. I thought the Cowboys would win. I didn't pick them, but I did like the aggressiveness there. Last week, though, I believe for you, was that a 3-0 week?
3-0.
Yes, and I believe I went 2-1. Giants +7 was not the move. That's just my big takeaway from last week. So as things stand, I am 20-19. You are 18-21. So things are getting a little tighter in the picture here. Let's see, 20. Yes, all right. So 18-21. I'm 20-19. So I've gone over 500. We are on the way up here a little bit. You could begin. You have the honors from winning last week. Obviously, you already took Cowboys. So what are your other two picks?
Bears 6.5. I know this game's on the road, but right now you are sitting first in the division. I believe I saw first in the NFC when I looked earlier, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So, for the Bears, you've played decent football. I talked about this last week after the win against Philly, but I don't think I've seen a week where conventionally you're like, this Bears team is good, very good, good enough to make a push come playoff time. And I think today is the day to do that. I mean, divisional rival in Green Bay. And you talked about it last week, some of the comments that Ben Johnson made prior to even coaching a game about Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Today is time to put the money where your mouth is. And I mean, Chicago, if you want to put the league on notice, say, hey, we're for real. Today's to go out and do it. You got to get a win. I don't think they win, though. I think they cover. Give me Bears plus 6.5. And the other one we talked about earlier in detail, I don't like the Jags today. I think they get the job done at home again. The Colts have not won there since 2015. Jags are hot, playing very good football, leading the division right now. So what a better way to kind of give yourself more space by getting a win and extending that streak to another one where, Colts struggle in Jacksonville. Give me Jags plus 1.5 to outright win today, get the job done.
Alrighty, I like that. By the way, I just want to take a quick trip here down memory lane. You said the Colts haven't won since 2015?
I believe that's what I saw, 2015 at home in Jacksonville.
All right. Let's see. All right, let's see. So let's see who is. Yes, here we go. It's 44-17. Oh my God, this was a disastrous year for the Jaguars. They went 3-13. Just trying to figure out who their coach was. All right. Let's see. So it was Andrew Luck versus Blake Bortles. Ahmad Bradshaw was the leading rusher for the Colts. Denard Robinson was the leading rusher for the Jaguars, who I believe was the Michigan quarterback, wasn't he?
He was Denard Shoelace Robinson, the Michigan legend, yes.
Chad Henne was the backup for Bortles. Matt Hasselbeck was the backup for Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Jeez. T.Y. Hilton. Reggie Wayne was still in the league. Allen Robinson.
Was Cecil Jones on that Jags team still at the time? I do remember.
I don't see him on the box score.
Was it Mercedes Lewis might have been there? That was what year did you say this was? 2013?
This was actually 2014.
All right.
Allen Robinson led the way receiving. Allen Hurns was right behind him. Man, this is oh man, what a Vontae Davis. Is a trip down memory lane. Let's see.
Trent Richardson was the backup.
Pat McAfee, 2 punts for 107 yards. Two punts both landed inside the 20. Big day for Pat McAfee.
You said this was a 44-17 game, right?
Yes.
Cecil Shorts was on that team. He was third in receiving that day, 5 for 35 and a touchdown.
Oh, he was. Yes, I completely missed him.
On that team also included Toby Gerhart as the second leading rusher for the Jags that day. And the Colts had Trent Richardson and Colts legend Dante Moncrief out there at wide receiver.
I had Dante Moncrief and Madden Mobile.
Wow.
What a time. I don't know if this is a good time or a bad time. I mean, the Colts won this and got to 1 and 2. The Jaguars were an abject disaster.
0-3.
What was the Jaguars went on to go 3-13 that year. Yeah. The Colts that season. Oh, this was the Deflategate year. Yeah. All right. So the Colts had a good year. Man, that was crazy. That's crazy. That was already that long ago. Yes, this was Deflategate. They beat the Bengals. They went on the road and beat Denver, and they lost 45-7 to the Patriots.
Oh, wow.
That was it. This was
life comes at you fast. Also, that team started out 0-2.
Yes. They lost to Philly.
0-2. Yep.
That Jags win was the first one of 5 in a row. And look at this. Steelers offense, 51 points on them. You don't see that anymore. Big Ben threw 6 touchdowns.
This is
in the second quarter.
I'm going back through
28 of 2014.
2014. I remember this year now.
Oh my
gosh. This was the This was the Dez called it year because they went to Dallas and got
Yes, this was
completely
Cowboys Packers.
destroyed by Dallas in AT&T Stadium. And Dallas that year was that 13-4, I think.
Yes, that was the Dez. Yeah, 12-4. Yeah,
12-4,
Dez
12-4. Yes, that was that year
against the Packers, and I believe the Packers lost to who was in the Super Bowl with the Patriots. That was the Seahawks. That was the crazy Seahawks comeback against the Packers in the NFC title game, where was it Jermaine Kearse that caught the game-winning touchdown overtime?
Jermaine Kearse. Yep.
Yes, that game where they the what was it, Brandon Boston, who screwed up the onside kick. Yes.
That was that year.
Was that year. And 2014 was a
and of course that was actually a pretty good season.
Yeah, and it ended with Pete Carroll screwing up the play call.
Yep.
Now, 51-34, not to keep going, but quickly here. 51-34, Steelers beat the Colts. Big Ben, 522 yards, 6 touchdowns. AB had 10 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Remember Heath Miller?
I do.
Yes, the Pat Freiermuth before Pat Freiermuth. 7 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Martavius Bryant, another name, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Marcus Wheaton with a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell didn't need to do much that day. He only had 92 yards and 24 carries. He did add 56 yards. That was like the prime Killer B days.
Does that say LeGarrette Blount on the roster? Oh my good. Martavius Bryant.
Steelers.
Wow. Okay. Darius Hayward-Bay. What a guy.
2014. They lost in the wild card to the Ravens, the Steelers.
It all makes sense now.
Yes.
It all makes sense now.
It all adds up. Yep, lost in the wild card to the Ravens. Yeah, that adds up. That sounds about right.
It all makes sense now.
Oh, wow. Man. All right. Anyway,
Cannot
I think that's a good cue to get into these other underdog picks. I agree. I'm going to go Jaguars plus 2.5 today. Let's say they pick up the win. Colts haven't won since that 2014 game. So, Dante Moncrief was in the NFL last time the Colts won. I think that continues. So give me the Jaguars today. They're hot. Colts are not. Jaguars plus 2.5. I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to go Bears as well, plus 6.5. I gained a little bit more of a belief in the Bears after last week's Black Friday win against the Eagles. I'm gonna take the Bears here. I think the Bears have I don't know if they win, but I think it's close. Yeah. I'll take the Bears. And I'm also gonna go Texans tonight to pick up a big win, plus 3.5 over the Chiefs. I do think they win this game. I don't think they just cover. I'll actually take them to win as well. Those are my picks. Any closing thoughts?
Just real quick, there's one more I kind of thought about, but I think this game is going to be pretty decent, pretty close, not putting them underdogs, but just a game for viewers to, tune into as well. Cincy plus 6 against Buffalo today. Very snowy weather. Cincy still in the mix of things. Burrow is back. I think they keep that one done. They get that one done. So just a good one to watch as we kind of get down on how the standings are going to be. But other than that, as usual, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy your football Sunday. Enjoy your 4 minutes until the college football selection show. So just enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next week.
Yes, definitely. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. All the games today. College football selection show. Brent Pry, by the way, back at Virginia Tech as the defensive coordinator. So that is quite the connection there. So that'll do it. We'll see you next week. Appreciate you all and talk to you then.